Now this is my 1970 Chevy Nova that I only paid $200 for. Now that was back in 1991 and I was only 16 years old. 33 years I've been driving this car. Pretty crazy. Now I'm going to tell you the story, but we're going to go back, way back, long before I even bought this car. So let's go. So yeah, my infatuation with cars probably goes back clear to my childhood. You know, starting with Matchbox cars and Hot Wheels, like most kids. And, well, it grew from there. Now, I also remember my freshman school year and seeing some of the seniors rolling in some pretty wicked muscle cars. So there's lots of 69 Camaros and 69 Chevelles, but what I gravitated towards was the Novas. And I remember the first day I was absolutely hooked and had to have one for myself. It was after school, and there was this guy, Mark, that had a 66 Nova that had a built 327, and he did a John Force-style smoky burnout out of the gas station. Just smoke rolling out of it, probably 200 feet burnout. I had goosebumps. I think I was cheering. It was, from then on, it was a mission. I had to get one for myself. And, well, 68 to 72 Novas were still a dime a dozen at this point, and so that's what I set my sights on. And then about a year or so later, I found my Nova, a 70 Chevy Nova. It was for sale, and they're asking $400 or best offer. And I was only 16 years old, working part-time at a pizza joint, but I'd saved up some money, and I went and looked at it. Now, it had been wrecked. That's why it was so cheap, but it was still in running condition. But the front fender had been smashed, and the front driver's side wheel was bent a little bit. The A-arm had bent, and then the rear quarter got smacked. So with all that damage, I offered $200, and they accepted. So for $200, I bought my Nova, and they delivered it to my house. I parked it in the front yard, and, well, I knew I needed to replace the A-arm suspensions that had bent that front wheel, along with the fender, and then do some sheet metal work. So it didn't take long to find a parts car that had everything I needed. And now this one was running and driving, but is very rough shape. And I only paid $160 and drove it home. It was another 70 Chevy Nova, but like I was saying, super rough. But it had all the parts that I needed, so I began disassembling this one, taking the front sheet metal and the A-arms off, and then pulled the ones off the other Nova and assembled them onto this one, getting one driving car out of the two. Now I do got some old photos of the car at this point that I'll overlay here and show you. You know, I'd started with the white Nova with a straight 6 in it, and I added the gold fender and the front suspension from that gold Nova. Then I was able to pick up some mag wheels super cheap and threw them on there, and I started building my first hot rod. And at that point, I started driving it to high school and having fun. You know, driving around with my friends, piling in here. At one point, I think we had 9 people in this car. Now, a couple years after that, the story kind of takes a weird turn because I had decided to sell the car. Like I was saying, they were a dime a dozen, they were everywhere, so it didn't seem like something I necessarily needed to hold on to. So I attempted to sell it, and the car got stolen from me. Now, I did do a video before talking about that, so I'll put a link to that up here in the corner. So yeah, it was stolen. For 5 years it was gone, and I go into detail about that in that video, so please check out that video. Now fast forward 5 years later, and I finally got my Nova back. Now this is after I had to repossess it myself and had a gun pulled on me. So now at this point, after getting my Nova back, I also acquired a video camera, and I started making some videos. Now I'm going to start showing you some video, and this is the day after I got my Nova back after being stolen for 5 years. It was in rough shape. Check it out.
What's a magnificent machine now? Hey, Mossy.
Looks like I just pulled it out of a pond.
It's pretty rough.
Oh God.
Oh man, you should be picking up women in this thing, man. Oh yeah.
You wait.
But now my mission was to get this car back on the road and start building the muscle car that I had always envisioned. Now I planned on doing a motor swap and fixing it all up, but first I did get that 6-cylinder run again just for fun. And then I threw some slotted mags on her and started cleaning her up. But I knew it needed a true makeover, so I dug into that rear quarter that had damage. And after I was done with the body work, I primered the whole car black. Gave it a sinister look, and I drove it like that for 12, 15 years. Now with the hot rod flat black paint job and the slotted mags, and I gave her a nice rake, she's starting to take form of the muscle car that I'd always envisioned. But to be a true muscle car, it needed a good V8 power plant. And I found a 1-ton Chevy square body that had a freshly rebuilt 400 small block in it. I think I paid $300 for the truck, pulled the motor, and then sold the truck to the wrecking yard for the $300 back. Now with that 400 small block, I was able to pull it apart and clean it up, reseal it, regasket, give it a paint job, and we stuck it in the Nova. Now that was my first motor swap, but we stumbled through it. And once we got it running, I started working on all the upgrades, you know, exhaust, getting new shocks. Now this car originally was just a 6-cylinder with a 2-speed power glide, and I'd swapped in a 400 small block with a turbo 350. And I put a B&M shift kit in the transmission and a B&M ratchet shifter with Headman headers and Flowmasters out back. Now at first I was just running the Quadrajet carb, but eventually I swapped in Edelbrock with a Performer intake manifold. And with that, I started burning up the streets. The first thing I needed to do was get new tires. And well, what do you do when you get new tires? You burn the old ones off. And then I started putting it in our local car cruise and car show. Brooks Auto Parts in Glenwood, they're closed now, but for a while there, they were doing a Friday night cruise. And anybody and everybody was welcome, and it was a blast. Everybody would gather at Brooks Auto Parts. They have a huge parking lot, they had a food truck there. And then it'd be an unorganized cruise up and down Main Street to Finn's Cafe and back. Those are some good times. Lots of cool cars, and I really started having a good time driving the Nova. It sounded mean, looked good, and started getting lots of attention. I won second place project vehicle at Crow High School Car Show, and Brooks Auto Parts gave me a trophy for most improved. I was showing up every weekend with something new on the car. I'd do something every week to upgrade it.
Frisbee and a Taco Bell $5 certificate. 42727. 542727.
Big cam. You could...
road again. On the road again.
Are you recording?
Hell yeah, I'm fucking recording.
Why?
Cause we're in the car. This is the back of us. Yes. Back of the car. Front of the car. The beauties of Oregon. On the right we have trees. On the left we have more bloody fucking trees.
And all my high school friends would show up. It was a good time. And those were great memories cruising with my friends. Now, it was around this time that my video camera that I was using at that time had broke, and they were kind of expensive at that time. So unfortunately, I didn't get another one. And so there's no video footage. There's a nice little gap that I don't have nothing until we started videoing with phones. Now, I do have a bunch of photos that I'll keep adding in here as we go, because at this point in time is also when I got it painted. Like I was saying, I'd rolled probably 12 to 15 years with a black primer, but my buddy Brian wanted to paint it, and he gave me a killer deal. The color was just a mix of paints he had left in the shop, and he shot it. I think we got 2 coats of the base, and then he put 3 layers of clear. Now, that was probably 15 years ago, so the paint now is all faded and peeling through, and I've got lots of rust. And I'm telling you, she looked good with a shine on her. But over the years, the sun and the weather have definitely taken its toll on it. She's definitely rough around the edges now. Lots of rust in the floor and the trunk and the rear quarters. It's going to take a lot of sheet metal work to bring her back to her former glory. But one of these days, we're going to do that, guys. With everybody liking patina and the ratty muscle car craze, she fits right in and gets just as much attention as she always has. It's like a time capsule when I drive it. 33 years. Brings back so many memories. But she still runs good, and I have a blast driving her. And they've gotten rare. You can't find them like you used to. So what do you think, guys? How many of you still have your first hot rod? Why don't you tell me in the comments? I'd like to hear. So at some point in the future on this channel, we're going to go through this car. Going through the sheet metal that needs to be replaced. Maybe a new power plant and transmission. I've got boxes of new parts up in the loft, ready to go on. But of course, before we dig into this one, we got to finish the El Camino project, guys. So be on the lookout for the El Camino videos. But let me know, should we follow that build with this one and get this thing back to where she needs to be? Now, I really appreciate you all watching, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and like, comment, and share with your friends. Hit that notification bell, and until next time, peace. All right, guys, check her out. Okay, I need to calm down a little bit.